Howdy, folks. It's Brian, and here's some advice. You might notice things are a little bit different than before. Um, a lot different than before. So I've actually kind of moved my location for filming to somewhere that's hopefully a little more quiet in general. You probably will still hear my computer, and I'm probably going to cut out some of this stuff. But I also wanted to kind of experiment around with actually just reading some of these things. This is going to be my first reaction to some of these articles or some of these "Am I the jerk" type things. So let's get into it. Let's see what we have here. And the first one I'm going to read here is this one right here. It says, "Am I a jerk for wanting to seek legal advice after an ER visit?" That looks interesting. It might not be, but we'll find out. So, early this year, I, a 17-year-old female, was in the ER for some ongoing health issues. Because of the current state of the world, only my father was allowed in the room with me, and I was in severe pain. So I was put on pain meds so that some tests could be run while I was more calm and comfortable. After around an hour, I informed the nurse that I was feeling worse and the pain meds were not helping. Without checking my record or informing me what she was giving me, other than saying it was the pain meds, the nurse gave me a medicine that I am highly allergic to. Because of this, I had a severe reaction and I had a seizure that lasted around an hour. My dad was obviously, and in my opinion, rightfully, very angry. My doctor came in and informed us that the med was listed as an allergy of mine and should not have been administered. My dad had to work the next morning, so he and my mom swapped places after asking me if it was okay, with my dad telling my mom what happened. While my mom was angry that the medicine was administered, she was a lot more angry at having to stay overnight with me for observation. In the days after my visit, my dad and I talked and think that we should seek legal advice and see if there's anything we can do against the nurse or the hospital. My mom thinks that I would be a jerk if I did this because the medicine was administered in an emergency situation, as we did not know if we had to be rushed into surgery or wait until tests were done. So Reddit, would I be a jerk if I sought legal advice after a horrible ER visit? One, I am not seeking advice other than if I would be a jerk. I am not seeking any advice other than if I would be the jerk if I did that. Okay. And then there looks like there's a pretty good edit here. Edit, I want to add this here because multiple people are asking. I was in the hospital for stomach pain that ended up being acute appendicitis. This was not discovered until 3 days after this night because of what happened while I was there. I asked for the meds because I was in such severe pain that when the doctors touched my stomach, I would cry and or vomit. I am saddened by the number of people who think that I was drug seeking and faked a seizure for that reason. I accept the fact that people think I'm the jerk, but I also am only a teenager and don't really understand medicine or medical terminology. Most of what I am able to say is based on what my dad told me at the time, what the doctor said, and other meds given, etc. So I apologize if things really don't make sense. I also want to add that I would be seeking legal advice for negligence, not malpractice. I did not choose my username. It was generated by Reddit. Okay. Alright, we're kind of in the weeds here. This is hard. While on one hand, yeah, the nurse should have probably checked your chart. On the other hand, you were in an emergency situation. They probably should have asked you if you were allergic to any medications before administering anything. I mean, that was actually very dangerous. And given that you had acute pains near what it sounds like in your stomach, it's pretty clear that that was probably appendicitis, also given your age. So I think that, that knowing that it's appendicitis and knowing that they're probably going to have to put you through surgery certainly complicates things. But also, they should have checked with you to make sure that you weren't allergic to any medications. So if you told them, if they had asked you if you were allergic to anything, you probably should have volunteered that you were allergic to certain medications. You should have also said that, hey, I'm allergic to something, but you were also in a lot of pain. If this is a hospital that you currently are around or attend, then or you go to appointments, it's easy to say that they probably had your chart. If this was a hospital that you don't actually go to and you were rushed there in an emergency and it's not generally your practitioner, that's a little harder. They might not actually have those records on hand. So it really depends on the situation. The thing that could have happened, of course, is if you had actually died. And yeah, I can understand, like, with your life on the line, that you're probably not happy about that. With all that said, I don't think you would be a jerk for looking into it, but you have to ask yourself what you're wanting out of this. And if you're wanting, like, monetary compensation for your medical bills that you acquired there and for them to cover that, I think that's probably fine, given that they ended up making things worse for you and you ended up having an allergic reaction. If you're wanting to get, tons of money out of this, you're probably not going to end up getting that out of a malpractice suit. So I guess it really depends on what you're looking for. The seizure is really concerning because those can actually cause a lot of permanent damage. But, also it's, it's a really hard situation here. I don't think you would be entirely in the wrong. But do understand that, doctors and nurses are also people and they do make mistakes, but it's really hard to say whether this was negligence or not. I would, if you really are interested, if you have a lawyer on call, I guess, then you can look into this. It may not be worth the money to find a lawyer to do this. It really just depends. Anyhow, I kind of wish you the best of luck here. I'm really sorry that you ended up having this issue happen to you, and hopefully you heal and everything kind of goes well for you. So, yeah. I saw the headline of this one before I saw, or after I saw that one, and yeah, I kind of want to read this one because this looks interesting. Will I be a jerk for insisting that we alter custody agreement after my ex brought me back the wrong baby? That right there just sounds like a disaster. Let's find out what happened with this disaster here. So this guy Sean and I have a complex history. But the important part of the history is that Sean got me and another woman, Linda, pregnant at roughly the same time. Our sons are only about 6 weeks apart. Linda's son is currently just over 15, while mine is under 17. Linda and I have identical custody agreements. We both have sole custody for the entire year, with Sean only having visitation, and while both boys were a year old, it became a 50-50 custody. Both myself and Linda have our sons for the odd weeks, while Sean gets them for the even weeks. This means that Sean has both boys at the same time. He pushed for this as he wanted a week on, week off from looking after the kids. He also requested that his sons could bond. Requested this so his sons could bond, but his primary motivation was getting time off. Sean had both boys last week. He brought my son back early today. I was on a work call while the baby was sleeping, so Sean just sort of placed the baby, carried on and all, down the floor and left silently. When the baby woke up and started crying, I got off the work call and immediately noticed that he was not my son. And my son has blue eyes, and this baby has green eyes. Taking off the baby's hat showed dark blonde hair, and my son has light brown hair. I immediately called Sean in a full panic mode, telling him to bring me the correct child right this second. It had only been about 10 minutes, so Sean wasn't far away and he hadn't gotten to Linda's yet. But, for crying out loud, this was the worst 10 minutes of my life. Sean came back smiling, carrying my son, and said in the most condescending tone, "Look, see, he's fine, no harm done." I told him that we are fixing the custody agreement. He is not having both boys alone again. He couldn't tell his own sons apart, so the solution here was for him not to be in possession, so to confuse them. I feel that this whole situation has been a total joke and should not have been and I should not have been in that position. I want to know that I have my child, not Linda's. I do not feel that this is a lot to ask for. Sean has said that I'm being unreasonable and says that it's an easy mistake to make, and that there are times when his parents brought him home when he was a baby from a nursery without his half-sibling, and excused it, that this was the first time it happened, and it only lasted 10 minutes. Okay, I don't even know if I need to read the rest of this. OP, he didn't run away with your child. It was 10 minutes. And judging from what the rest of Reddit has to say, I'm going to kind of agree with everyone and say, you're overreacting here and you're being a little bit of a jerk. Yes, he should not have brought you the wrong child. But he did, and mistakes happen. Now, again, like, he didn't do this maliciously, and he noticed it pretty fast, but it doesn't even sound like the other woman is that far away, so it's not like your child would have been in any immediate danger here. So it's really hard for me to say that you should change the custody agreement and potentially, take away the opportunity for these two boys to bond, because they are going to be, half siblings here. And just because you think he's being irresponsible with this one instance. Now, you can tell the kids apart, and he clearly can tell the kids apart most of the time, because it's not like this has ever happened before. He may have been tired, he may have been exhausted or worn out from caring for the kids. This looks like, and it's not like he was doing this and thinking he was going to get away with swapping the kids or something like that. I mean, it's pretty obvious that wasn't the case. He wouldn't have wanted to travel back 10 minutes to do this. So I really think, you're overreacting here. I don't think he needs to change the custody agreement. And yeah, it was a bit of a jerky thing for him to do, and that he couldn't tell his kids apart for a brief moment. But again, I think there was probably some underlying issues here, like maybe he was overly exhausted from caring for the kids. Again, I don't think this is enough to change the custody agreement. So, yeah, that's kind of my judgment. Well, Reddit's already judged it, so let's find out. Am I a jerk for shutting down the bar when I found out my guests had brought in their own alcohol? This just happened a couple of hours ago. I am a bartender at a resort where you cannot bring in your own alcohol. It is very illegal. We can get fined, and the customers can get fined at the resort, and the resort can be shut down. We had this group of 12 people come in. They already were super rowdy and had quite a bit of alcohol. I served them and made them all drinks. They come into the bar and lounge and to listen to some entertainment. One thing to note is that this party was for a woman with terminal cancer, so we let this group get away with quite a bit. They were dancing, which is not allowed, but stayed within the bubble of people they brought up, and got their own food, which one again is frowned upon, but I let it slide because it was tamish. So after many drinks of alcohol, I went over to grab the empty glass, and I noticed in the wine bucket was a bottle of unknown alcohol. The label was ripped off. My best guess was that they finished the wine and brought it in earlier and left it with the beer. I smelled the bottle to see what it was and filled it with beer. So I go over to them and asked who brought it in and what it was, and everyone denied knowing anything about it. So I shut everything down, which I admit I did not handle right. I was angry and tried to hide that they had tried to hide this from me. They used a wine bucket to hide the bottle. I wasn't yelling per se, but I wasn't being nice about it either. You can guess that they were angry when I shut everything down. Half of them were angry for being punished for the actions of the other half, and the other half were angry because I decided to stop serving alcohol. I feel very bad because it was only 15 minutes until last call, and I know that not everyone was drinking the alcohol that they brought in, but my anxiety was through the roof because of this. I could have easily just taken the alcohol and dumped it, but this group had tried to bring in alcohol in the past few times while they were staying at the resort. That's why I went to the extreme and immediately shut it down. Am I a jerk for putting a stop to the party? I feel like a jerk because this woman is dying and may have had been one of the last few get-togethers she had with her friends, and other people were being punished because of the actions of others. This one's hard. You're not a jerk per se. And I think that this situation was a bit stressful. And it sounds like this is probably an ongoing party, and it's been happening for days. So it's not really like it's the last chance that they're going to have together. You did try stopping it before when they attempted to bring alcohol in before, and you presumably warned them. And I think that that's pretty fair. I think they really abused your goodwill here. They really took advantage of like you turning a blind eye to certain things. I think where you really got upset is that this was actually illegal and that you could have been fined and even shut down because of it. And so in that respect, I don't necessarily know that that was that much of an overreaction. But again, I think that this was a bit of an unfortunate situation, and I think that they should have known better, but again, they apparently did not. Um, so, my final verdict here is I don't think you're a jerk, and it's really hard to say. There was someone who's a jerk here, and it sucks that you have to punish everyone because of one person's bad actions here. And it was one bottle of alcohol too, which was already drunk, so I don't know what the legal implications of that are. So, again, it's really hard to say. You probably worked in the best interest of preserving your job and the resort, and they were not behaving. So, overall, no, you're not the jerk, and I think that they really went too far. Oh, right. Am I a jerk for telling a friend's ex that it's her fault on mobile for an apologies? This happened today, and I'm a little upset. My best friend, 32 male, recently passed away. He was with a girl, Lana, 30, for 8 years and engaged. He adored her. To say he supported her would be an understatement. He got her clean, paid off her debts, tens of thousands of dollars, and paid for her law degree, and when she finished and didn't like the job, he paid for her to study more. He bought her the house of her dreams, car, dogs, boob job, everything. Whatever she wanted, she got, and he never did much for himself. He was so devoted to her and her dogs, and that was his family. He had a poor family life growing up and was determined to be different, and that love that he had for her was unconditional. His happiness came from looking after them and the people he loved. He's been my best friend since we were 6 years old. We've been through everything, and she made him so happy. Then, about 18 months ago, her ex came back and started causing problems. He told me the ex wanted her back and she was using again. 2 weeks ago, he told me that she'd been admitted to being in a relationship with him, and he could sign over the house and cars to her. He was broken, to say the least. We railed around as friends to try and support him, rallied around him as friends to try and support him, but sadly it was not enough. Today at the funeral, she showed up with her ex and new partner and acted like all sad, and wow is me, and woe is me. That was not okay, but we kept our peace till she said, I thought he was happy, and I thought he was happy. What would have caused this? I lost it and told her that she broke his heart. He loved her through thick and thin, and even when she treated him like crap, he still loved her, and she used and broke him. It's all her fault. This also exposed her cheating in front of friends and family, but also family who treated him like a son were not aware of the affair. Am I the jerk for blaming her and exposing her? Wow. I actually had to read this one twice because, like, at first I didn't know what was going on. And so you're probably not going to see my stumbling through the first time. I needed a break. Wow. No, I don't think you're a jerk here. This woman made some really, really bad life decisions. I cannot fathom this. He devoted his life to her, and then she cheated on him, and she has the audacity to bring this guy to the funeral. And you were best friends with him. It sounds like this was an extremely tragic situation. Uh, and yeah, no, you're not a jerk. I am surprised that she even showed her face here. This is so sad. This is really, really sad. I just wish the best for you, wish the best for his family and all of your friends. This is beyond tragic. No, you're not a jerk. I don't 0 out of 10 here. This is terrible. Um yeah, bad stuff. All right. Let's read this one. I'm a sucker for hearing about Ivy League people sometimes. So we'll see if this is uh bad. Am I a jerk for making fun of a guy for calculating the dinner bill wrong, asking if he had really gone to an Ivy League? A few years ago, I had dinner with Susie, Susie's boyfriend Max, and Janet. It was my first time meeting Max. He seemed pleasant enough during dinner, and we had good conversation. Janet joined late, so only ordered a cocktail, $15, and shared some of our appetizer fries. And he had to leave before the bill came, so she gave me a 40. She said if she overpaid, it can just be an extra tip. When the final bill came, for simplicity, we all agreed to split between the three of us evenly, after taking out Janet's $15 cocktail. The three of us each owed about $80, including tax and tips. Susie and Max had enough cash, but I paid by card. When the credit card bill came, I put down $80 for my total. For some reason, Max insisted I should be putting down $120 to include for Janet's $40. I was confused and told him Janet's cash was already in the mix along with their $160. With such certainty, he continued saying no, saying Janet's money should be factored into my credit card bill since he gave me her cash. I repeated that her cash was already there. We kept going back and forth about this. He would not stop. It was very hard to explain this was even a conversation and why it went on for so long. The math was so self-explanatory. He said that it was such certainty and belief he just couldn't let it go. I don't remember why Susie didn't say anything during this argument. Evidently, to shut him up and leave, also because the scene was getting embarrassing, I just wrote an extra $40 on my credit card bill. Before we left, I asked Susie to count the cash and my charge to make sure that we had enough to pay for the total bill. She counted the cash and added my credit card charge and told me that I had been right, sorry about that, apologizing for on their behalf. Max did not say anything, and she said that she did not argue either and didn't apologize either. I said that was okay and took back the $40 in cash off the table since my credit card was already filed. Looked at Max and said, "Are you sure you went to Harvard?" Susie laughed, but Max was pissed. I told him and told me I didn't need to be a jerk about it and that everyone makes mistakes. I told him it was basic math. Am I a jerk? A tiny bit. I mean, sometimes it sounds like this was the first time you've met him, and if this is the first time you've met him and you found out that he went to Harvard, then he probably talked about it quite a bit, and probably rubbed in his stuff. I'm extrapolating here. This could very well be something you had heard from her beforehand or something like that. But if he was, okay, if he was there bragging the entire night about how he went to Harvard and how smart he was, then no, you are not a jerk at all, and he deserves having this happen. On the other hand, if he never mentioned it, and he never brought up the fact that he went to Harvard, and this was just something you heard, secondhand, and you mentioned this, yes, you are the jerk. It really depends on the context. You didn't really explain what happened here and how the conversation happened. So there are a couple of extremes here. So it really depends on what happened. So I would need more information to say for sure whether you were the jerk or not. But given sometimes Ivy League folk can be very full of themselves and constantly talk about how they went to an Ivy League school and stuff like that and how smart they are. If that was a situation, which I'm kind of guessing probably was the situation, no, you're not the jerk. So, yeah, that's my determination here. Alright, folks. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. We'll see what we can do in the future with this. This is just kind of a new format for me. I didn't cut my hair or anything like that, just to let you know. It's still back there, but this sheet is a little staticky, so I just kind of didn't want it getting staticked. Let me know if you enjoyed this. I know that was a bit of a non sequitur. And hopefully this fulfills like both the part where I can read stuff off for you and the part where you can see me. I know some people liked both, so I really wanted to make this a good compromise. If you're still listening to me ramble at this point in time, thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Give me suggestions. Comment below. I really always enjoyed hearing the comments. You might be wondering why I haven't posted for a while, and 2020, man. Let's just put it that way. 2020. But hopefully I can, from here get involved with posting more often, and let's see what happens. I can't make any promises. Again, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you all later.